Rory's playing it with his boy Lowry.
Why is Rory playing in the Zurich?
I have no idea. He wanted to.
Maybe that's why he wanted to go to LIV. He's like, oh my God, I committed to this terrible tournament. Get me off this stupid tour.
Entering the Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog Fantasy. Use code Mayo at Underdog Fantasy right now and get yourself a match deposit of up to $100. Tambo and I will be drafting a PME Classic team live on the show here in a little bit. Tambo's in the studio. Masters went both great for me in terms of how much money I got back, but not because of DraftKings or Underdog for that matter. Just, I didn't get wiped out, but it just wasn't a good week.
Yeah, similar. I got more back than I thought I would. It turned out okay. Had a couple spots there, but Bryson fell back some on the board. We were kind of higher on him. Had a great week for the community at Ship It Nation. We will have the Millie Maker winner on the show today with Hoop and I. He's going to come back. He had a single bullet from a satellite and then won the Mega 22-22 for cool $1 million. So that'll be exciting. His name's Chris. Met him at the 3M last year. Should be good.
All right, yeah, you can use fantasynational.com/Mayo, get 20% off, get access to the leaderboard app, which I'm sure that everyone will want to be using. If you're already a Fantasy National member, you can just put yourself on the list and get the app. It's for Android, it's for iPhone now, so it's for everyone, and we're still in the beta testing version, but it works pretty well, so I highly suggest that you go do that. It's the best way to track golf. I'm excited to be back from Vegas.
Right.
I think that the viewers are excited I'm back from Vegas as well because they can hear me now and I'm not popping my peas. I need to get better microphones for when we go on the road is what I determined.
Now you know. I was going to say, though, it looked like a fun time. And before that, what's funny, last week, the Masters app, just going back to Fantasy National for a second.
Was not as good.
It wasn't, but it allowed me to get one step further on getting the Fantasy National stuff downloaded because I was like, oh, there's nothing else really going on. I'm just sitting there on the couch watching the Masters. So made it one step further, Pat. So I'll be in on the tracking this week.
We have, it's a hangover week. Oh, I'm drafting second in the Underdog Draft.
I'm always on I've never got better than fourth.
Yeah, you get the turn. At least you get the turn. I think I'd rather have the turn than go fourth.
Depends on how you feel about Scotty Scheffler this week.
Well, if you don't have number one, what's the difference?
That's what I mean. I'm just saying I never get first.
Scotty's going to go number one, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the way on DraftKings this week.
We'll see.
I don't think he'll end up being the highest owned, is what I'm saying.
Right. Agree.
But I think he will be higher than what he's currently being projected at.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, we talked pre-show on that. Like I said, people are trying to think he's going to be like 10 or 12%.
No.
Because of this stuff. It's just not happening. There's zero chance. I'll take over 20 to anyone who wants it. So
he should be over 20.
He should be more, yeah. It's a limited field. It's no cut. I think that'll just all resonate with people as the day goes on today, and we'll see Scotty up there again.
I understand the merit in not playing him if you don't want to, but even the Fantasy National Simulator has him at, I think, a 15% win equity in this field, which would make his true odds 7-1 or something like that, and he's 4-1. So it's not that far off. It is percentage-wise, considering he's 4-1 and 7-1, it's almost double. But that's still
It's also low. This is your spot. I'm excited for the show because you're up anyway.
I'm up. All right, I'll make some picks here, and then we can get on the go. As we continue.
What I was going to say is this is your spot. Obviously, the Satoshi Kodaira, as we're listening on PGA Live Radio back in the day. I think it was back in 2018 or something.
It was on my birthday that day.
Okay.
Although Masters fell on my birthday this year, which was nice.
Yeah.
But there was weather concerns in the afternoons. They pushed all of the tee times up, and then Kodaira ends up in the playoff with Siwoo. And I'm thinking that I need Siwoo to win because I have an outright ticket on Siwoo. And it turned out that I needed Kodaira because that won me all the DraftKings. Still the most money I've ever won on DraftKings.
I remember that. You were trying to figure out which one would pay more, and then you figured that out, so that worked good. But what I was going to say is you also know the course so well. And back to the Scheffler thing for 2 seconds, place it out there, hit greens. But wait, they're small, so you need to kind of have a decent around the green game. Guess who's been crushing it around the greens? Him. The only thing you would actually maybe worry about is when he does have to chip it up close to the pin and have those little 2-footers, because that actually has been a problem lately for him, but still.
Well, just even to talk about the course a little bit more, it's all about angles here. Sometimes you're better off in the right rough than you are in the left side of the fairway, just being able to attack the hole. There's overhanging trees in a lot of spots. But I like this tournament. And I guess the one reason that I don't want to say the reason to fade Scheffler, but if you wanted a reason to fade Scheffler, is I do think that although there's only 69 players in the field, I think they're all kind of live this week. Obviously they're not all live, but any skill set plays here. You just see so many short hitters. If they just run hot with the irons and putter, they're just as dangerous as anyone else.
Somehow Patrick Cantlay fell to me here.
Good.
So
I guess
even though I don't love it, I'm just saying I'm not going to not take him. So I'll take him. And then I guess the bigger decision comes up on if I want more. Do you like Morikawa or Fitz?
I like Fitz.
I know we're in the same draft, but I'm just curious what you're thinking early on. So yeah, I think I'm still going to go.
Well, what do you make of some of the popular people this week? And I think that the underdog ADP is kind of showing this a little bit. Like, people are kind of in on Morikawa. They're in on Cam Davis. They're in on Tom Kim. Like, these are all guys. Lucas Glover is another one. I bet Lucas Glover. We'll get to the bets here in a minute. But I bet him at a bigger number. Like, when Jeff and I did the show in Vegas, we weren't able to bet as of yet, like on the accounts that I have. And there was a 90 on Tom Kim. He's like 45-1 now. Like, pass.
Yeah. This is a Masters hangover week. It's clear. The stuff, even when we get to it later with DraftKings, like the betting cards. Listen, I did the tidbits yesterday. It's like almost time to retire them. Like, everyone's on the same card this week. Everyone has all the same bets. It's some combination of Cantlay, Thigala, Straka. It's literally all Cam Davis. It's all the exact same dudes. So I get it. That's, there's groupthink, but I think part of it is because it's the week after the Masters. And for DraftKings, that can make for a lot of fun later on when we get to it, because I was saying to you pre-show, there's guys that, you're looking at it and it's like, oh, Rory and, Cam Young and some of these other guys that maybe people aren't talking about as much. And then you got your Zalatoris, your Lowrys, your Connors, Burns. There's just lots of guys that are still in this field that you could see find their way through. So I think it's going to be a fun week for that.
My betting card, I think, is going to be slightly different, because it's weird not being as a part of the, I didn't do the research show this week. We did the show live in Vegas before we left, but weren't able actually to get money down, so we couldn't commit to any of the bets. And then when I got back, there's a lot of guys I still liked. Like, someone I wanted to bet, like Denny McCarthy, when he was 85 or 70 or whatever. Like, the best I can get him at now is like 60, maybe, without an each way. Like, I don't know if I want to do that. And everyone's betting Tommy, like, no thanks, at 18-1.
Right.
Like, I'd be glad to see the dude win.
I think last week was a product of the local caddy. Remember the two guys, him and Hatton, that everyone's like, oh, they got this new caddy. Hatton's with his buddy, and Fleetwood's got this local guy. They both go out and have a great week. Maybe Roy should get a new caddy.
Maybe, or maybe they're just, Hatton had played pretty well at Live Doral.
We talked about that too, those two guys. Like, they were definitely guys that were part of that underpriced group. Remember the last lineup we built for the Masters?
Well, you played it in the head-to-head against me. I beat you because I think Thomas missed the cut for you.
JT was horrendous, those last 4 holes or whatever. But again, funny enough, if you look up the board, it was like the Max Homas, the Zalatoris. If you like 8,200 Bryson was under the average price. Like, a lot of those guys, outside of obviously Scheffler getting the job done, it was a lot of those guys that we talked about in that play the guys that you think are underpriced just because it's a major. They're sort of pushed down the board.
So let's recap the draft so far. I think this is the easier way to do it, is we can have a discussion about these players as we go along, and then we'll recap every few rounds. Scotty did go first, obviously. I had pick number 2. I took Xander. I think I like Xander more than Ludwig here, especially from... Listen, Xander doesn't have to win. It'd be nice if he won, but this is a Thursday-only draft. I think he can come out... Although the Thursdays have been a bit weaker for him, he kind of grinds to the end. That's how he gets all those backdoor top 10s. It's just, this is a spot where he's played pretty well over the years. He was a part of that lineup with Kadira, by the way. That ended up winning me all that money. That's when I faded the entire 10K range and went with Xander, Bill Haas, and I think Cantlay as my 9K guys, and then dropped down the rest. No, it was Bryson. Bryson was the one who was in it, I think. Either way, it was a long time ago. So Scheffler, Xander, Ludwig, Rory, Fleetwood, Cantlay to you. And then you took Fitzpatrick on the wraparound. And then Siwoo goes next. So Siwoo's ownership is going to be out of control this week.
Yeah, it's pretty condensed. I think Siwoo's definitely part of that group for sure. You mentioned earlier, like the Cam Davis, the Taylor Morris, the Tom Kim, some of those guys. Glover down low. I threw a 2v2 up last night, actually, which we'll get to it later. But like Scotty Glover or Oberg Fleetwood.
I still think I like Scotty Glover.
Yeah, it was when I last looked, it was almost 700 votes last night, and it was 70-30 on the Oberg Fleetwood side.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's not my pick, is it? Oh, it's almost my pick. There we go. So with my second pick, I took Wyndham Clark, who I almost bet this week. It just comes down once again to, I think his odds are like, why is he behind Cam Young on the betting board? Because he missed the cut last week? Okay.
He's awesome. Major winner, winning in signature events, like showing up in big time ones like the Players and the API this year already, and a much smaller field. It's almost like when people called him Mini Brooks. Part of that Brooks mentality wasn't just what he did to win the majors and the events, but it's going up against smaller fields that he can just cut off dudes in his mind and say, I'm better than these guys. So it really comes down to like a 10-man tournament in his mind. I think that's kind of how Wyndham's been doing things, and it didn't work last week, but first time out at Augusta National Golf Club. It's not going to work for everybody that way.
So, and I mean, he didn't even have that poor of a day one. He lost it a little bit coming home, and he just had, like a lot of people, had a terrible day two, which really benefited me in a big way. But I took him over Thigala and Cam Young because those were the wraparound picks after I picked. So it went Morikawa, Homa, Wyndham Clark to me, then Thigala and Cam Young, and then I got Shane Lowry on the wraparound. Now, when I get to the bets, I did bet Thigala at a bigger number than Wyndham Clark was. I toyed around with just like, man, 33 to 1's a good number. I think starting DraftKings lineups this week, Scotty Wyndham Clark might be the way to go if you can make it work.
Yeah, 1-2. The 1-2 punch that we've seen multiple times this season already, so...
Give me some Tom Hoagie with my next pick. I bet Hoagie as well. I thought that he would be wildly popular this week. It does not seem to be the case.
Seems like people mentioned him at the start of the week. Maybe you'll be able to see it in Fantasy National when you break it down.
That's where I kind of saw it.
I think at the start of the week, people were a little bit more interested, and then maybe as the week went on, they've decided just to land on these other guys.
So the round 3 picks went at Cam Young with the first one. Then I took Lowry, Spieth, Zalatoris, Henley, Sam Burns. You were the one who took Sam Burns. So you like Sam Burns this week, or are you just getting off the board a little bit?
Best on the board at that point. I don't mind him. Yeah.
Were you surprised that Spieth fell so low to 3-3?
Yeah, I feel like, again, it's a product of realizing that the field's stronger than people seem to make it. Like, again, because everyone's on the groupthink, it's like you're just not hearing enough of these other names. Spieth was definitely in that mix I was talking about earlier. Like Rory, Morikawa, Spieth. Some of these guys, the field is much stronger than just what people are saying of Oberg, Fleetwood, Scotty up top, Xander, like what we know. So it does feel like people are just heavily going all in on the same guys. So you're getting more dudes down below. I got Burns and Ann on the wraparound there on top of earlier getting Cantlay and Fitz. And now I still have options like Cam Davis, Denny McCarthy, Tom Kim. Like you can get a pretty good squad here on Underdog this week when it gets to you.
I do think that, as it pertains to DraftKings with Spieth, I think I like Spieth as a guy that everyone is forgetting about over someone like Rory, simply because the opportunity cost of taking Rory means that you don't get one of those big studs that everyone kind of likes. Whereas with Spieth, I mean, what do you give it up? Cantlay? Okay.
Sure.
No big deal.
Yeah.
Like, if Cantlay beats me, then he beats me, fine, whatever. But Spieth has a win and a second-place finish here the past 2 years. I get that he looks out of sorts, but we do see kind of a hard reset. Like, we see a hard reset when everyone goes to Florida. And then we usually do see a hard reset after the Masters as well. Like, you can kind of divvy up the season, and I don't know if that plays in the players' minds, or they try to peak for Augusta, and it doesn't go right, or it goes great. Like, with Scheffler, he's never won a tournament after the Masters in the course of a year. I don't know why that is exactly. But maybe Spieth kind of gets it back together now.
Goes both ways. I think you're right, because it's like part of it is how do they handle it, and more experience probably helps. But a guy like Spieth, that's a letdown. But is he really going to have a letdown bother him that much, or is he just going to get back to it? Now he goes back to a course he knows there's way less stress about the RBC Heritage than there is for the Masters, so maybe that helps him. And obviously got a little bit of extra time to practice up as well for some of the, like another guy earlier too. Speaking of Spieth, JT. You mentioned him just crushing, and I talked about how bad his last 4 holes were. That's another guy. He's here this week. Like, nobody's talking about it because he sucks now. Rory sucks. JT sucks. Spieth sucks. These guys are all terrible at golf. Never play them. That's really what the sentiment seems to be.
And it does seem like a week to go. Like you said, because of the hangover, everyone's on the same betting card. Everyone's on the same whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. The same DraftKings plays, the same constructions, that if there is a week to go off the board, you might lose all your money because the proper and chalk plays come through. But it does feel like a week where a little bit of leverage is way more than it usually is, because far fewer people seem to be doing the work and paying attention, myself included.
I just think it's for everybody. That's fair. It's everyone said it before, like skip a week or have the RBC before, or whatever it ended up being. Like, don't have a signature event the week after.
I hate
it. Yeah, exactly. Everyone does, and I get it, but maybe it's a chance for us to capitalize. And I think part of it's going to be what you said, and just when we get to DraftKings, especially avoiding some of that stuff and just hoping that it doesn't always get there, or it doesn't get there like it seems to always get there.
So my final team goes Xander in the first, Clark, Lowry, top 3 picks. And again, it's Thursday only, so the strategy's a little bit different, and you do want some birdie makers on your team to pile up that one day. They don't need to win the tournament. Then I went Akshay, Hoagie, and Mac Hughes, who was second to Ludwig at the RSM, same part of the country. And you've seen flash rounds from him where he just starts making everything. We saw it at the Valspar. I think it was Valero. He kind of did the exact same thing. I don't think he can keep it together for all 4 rounds, but if it's the hot Thursday for Mac Hughes, then I'm going to win.
Yeah, first round leader bet. and for this especially, but I do think that is interesting. He did pop a little bit for me as well, and we've seen some of these Canadians pop up lately. No bias, just saying it. Like,
Well, there's a lot of them now.
yeah, but even like what we've seen from, what is it, like 5 wins in the last year and a half or something from them, and then you got the Nick Taylor stuff, Hadwin, Hughes. We've seen Silverman even at certain tournaments. Not this one, but just to say, like, there's a lot of Canadians popping up here and there, and Connors is in this field again. Another guy, $8,300 on DraftKings. We'll get to later, but yeah, your team is good. It's better than mine. I got Cantlay, Fitz, Burns, Benny Ann, Tom Kim, and Denny McCarthy. More of like a balanced strength than any up. Like Cantlay's there, but who knows? It's one day only though. And then I got 5 other guys that are pretty decent, but nothing. I don't see like pop rounds here.
As it pertains to Tom Kim, do you think that everyone who wanted to bet him on Monday, and now people are like me, where they see his number, they're like, no chance that I'm going to bet this guy at the same odds, like worse odds than like Lowry or something like that, just because he had a very good final day at Augusta, which is granted, like I that's why I had the initial interest in him. But is that translating over to DraftKings, betting market, now that everyone's kind of out on him? Because everyone who wanted to be in got in, now they're all out.
Agree on the betting side for sure. No one wants that. People just can't take it, right? It's always like the betting, the CLV, the number, everything matters. It does matter,
Well,
I'm saying, but like that's why I think people would be out at 45s. But for DraftKings, there's a different scenario because it's all about who's around him. And in this case, we have Taylor Moore and Cam Davis, who are both getting love as well.
So let's talk about the bets this week that I put in. I got 4 under 100, then 2 bombs, then I went to Corrales.
Nice.
So I bet Thigala at 40. I bet Lowry at 50. 2 guys that I bet last week. Lowry was best in approach of all players who made the cut. Nick Dunlap was actually number 1 of all players. Maybe someone to look at this week, potentially.
Make birdies, too. No cut. I don't mind it.
Yeah. He has not been good in strong fields, though. He's only made cuts in, like, the crappy fields. Like Amex, he was good at Valero. Anytime you get all the best players together, he's been abysmal. So keep that in mind.
Sample size massive, too.
Sure, but, I mean, I think that does kind of stick out, too. He does have talent. It's shown more when it's a less talented field. When the most talented people are there.
For sure.
He's
Good news, pricing matters and scoring matters. So it's like, yeah, it can still rack up, and hopefully that keeps people off him. I think it will. I don't see any ownership on him at all.
So Thigala and Lowry, 40 and 50. Ben Ann and Lucas Glover, 66 and 75. Those 2 guys were played with 5 places as well.
Good call.
There's no way that I'm betting Ben Ann and not having a top 5 at least.
I still remember Sedgefield, and he just puts it in that bush on the late hole, and you're like, man, I thought that was his win, but yeah.
I mean, that is the course to look at this week.
It is, yeah.
Is Sedgefield. Like, just so much crossover between this course and the Wyndham Championship. It's kind of unreal. Even guys like JT Poston and CT Pan and guys like that, they show up at these 2 and end up doing really well. Like you mentioned, Ben Am was 71 holes without a bogey.
I think so.
I think at the Wyndham, he finally made one and lost.
Oh, horrible, man.
So those 2, Ann and Glover, 66 and 75. And the 2 bombs that I took were Tom Hoagie, 100 to 1 with 5 places, and Kurt Kitayama, 100 to 1 with 5 places. His ball striking has been sneakily very, very good. I like him at these shorter courses, weirdly enough. And it being no cut, he's either going to come like dead last or he's going to finish top 5. Those are kind of his 2 ranges of outcomes lately.
So 2 things on that. I love that you brought that up because one is we've had these good conversations around guys like Akshay Bhatia, similar. Sahith Thigala, similar. Kitayama would fit into this mix as well. Siwoo fits into the mix. It's like, look, we get it. They can blow up and explode and miss the cut. In this case, he can. It's a no cut. But in those events, or finish dead last. But the point of it is to get the spike round. And the other thing I like, Pat, too, about Kitayama is I don't think anybody thinks short courses are good for him. I think everybody thinks Kitayama's, you want to bomb it out there, long, hard tracks, all this stuff. It's like, man, he's going to be just fine. And we've seen other guys that people didn't think that. Remember the first year Cam Young came here. That's not a good setup for Cam Young, and he was first-round leader and finished 3rd or something on the week, which is what else is new for Cam Young, but just to say it, like that's the setup here. So I do think that's interesting when we get to Kitayama later because he's 6,900, which is right above Glover, and it sounds like the secondary there would be someone more like Griot or dropping down than maybe Kitayama, so I don't mind him at 6,900 when we get to DraftKings.
So for Corrales, I'm in on 3 unless you want to sell me on someone. I bet 4 Chan Kim, 50 to 1. Matty Schmidt, who I think everyone's on. The number just seems too big for a guy who's constantly in contention. 55 to 1 for me. There were 60s earlier in the week. I think it's dropped even more now. But once I landed back on from Vegas back to here, I could open up my apps and start betting again. It was the first bet I made. I was like, I got to catch this number before it gets crushed because I saw everyone talking about it. And then I bet Lanto at 90 to 1. Sneaky ball striking on Lanto. If he just get the putter rolling, which was never really a problem for him. he just seemed like too good of a player to be almost 100 to 1 in an alternate field where there's some like real goobers at the top of this board. You got like Noren and Højgaard, that's great. But when like Nate Lashley is the 4th favorite in your event, it's not a strong field.
Yeah, that's right. He's expensive too. The DraftKings contests were out, and he's like 10-2 or something for Nate Lashley. But I don't really have anyone to sell you on. I forget what event it's at this week, but I thought you were going to say when you flew back, you joined the pack. Did you get in on your guy, John?
No, I didn't.
Lot of people are on John this week.
What is it? John Pack in Corrales or John Pack on Corn Ferry?
I think it's on Corn Ferry.
Oh, I see. I can do that.
Double check that, but I think it was 100 to 1. Baroff sent it over to me and was like, "You got to get in." And then I realized I think he retired the Diamond Stud. So then I was like, "Damn, maybe I shouldn't be in on this guy. He used to be our boy." But I went back and showed that we had tweets from like 2018 on this guy making fun of that. So I was like, I got to be in on this guy. And then the pictures that people had showed, it sounds like he got rid of the earrings.
So I'll have the full update, if anything, final in the newsletter on Wednesday evening. You can sub for free down in the description right now. Get the Substack sent to you. If you had followed it last week, you got a 84 to 1 winner and 41 to 1 winner. So that was good.
Huge. What was the biggest one you saw?
Someone had $250 on it.
Wow.
So they doubled me up. So it was like $22,000, I think.
Sick.
Was it? I only had 120. I had 125 on that one, 200 on the other one.
Huge
so I ended
week.
up clearing like almost 20K, which was nice. It's the best Masters I've ever had. Better than the Danny Willett Masters.
Want to buy my window covering, Stormy?
No, I actually have to replace the windows in my house as well. So
Okay.
I had to prepay it up front like 6 months ago. They're finally going to come around and do it when the weather's a little bit nicer. So I guess the second half of that payment can come out of those winning. Always
Fair.
fun when you can allocate money that way.
Yes.
Like, hey, all this free money. Oh, why don't we spend it on new windows for the house?
Masters
Great.
money, baby. Let's go.
So Kim, Schmidt, Lonto, 50, 55, and 90. I went with Lowry in the one and done. Jeff went with C. Woo! Kim, and Cuss took Tommy Fleetwood.
Oh, that's going to end well.
Yeah. So in the actual one and done, I'm falling down the board very, very much.
How far?
In the big one and done. I'm still inside the. I'm 694
Oh, you're fine.
for my best. It's not fine.
I'm like 3100th.
Well, you're
Bad.
That's not good.
Yeah.
So I've used Scotty. I've used Rory. I have Xander, Wyndham, Ludwig, Homa, Harmon, Fleetwood, Cam Young, Morikawa, Thigala, Henley. Like, those are the guys that I have left. I've used Fitz. I've used Cantlay. I've used Hovland, who's not playing. Rory and Scheffler. I was thinking about using Wyndham Clark. Try to get a piece of this sweet, sweet elevated event money.
Yeah, it's a good way to do it. And what's his remaining?
85%, but I just don't think... Yes, Paul. Wyndham didn't leave for, like, Liv or something while I was talking, did he?
No, he hates, like, he made the jokes about Liv, and now Tim hates him.
Yeah, Tim
People
does
forget
hate
that.
him.
Oh, yeah.
After
he already
he
made
picked
his
him at
money
the
on him. He's
US
moving
Open.
on.
You know what? I'm going to bet Wyndham Clark this week, too. 33 to 1. I'm throwing that on.
I found it's 47.50.
Really?
There's an offshore, though.
Well, I'll have to... I don't think anyone's betting him this week, so...
I don't think anyone's really playing him or interested or doing anything with him.
But,
so.
I mean, he just won at Pebble. It's not like he... I mean, he did make every putt, but...
It happens. I'm going to be interested when we get to it, the Scotty Wyndham lineups. Like you said, I think that's very interesting because I think it's Scotty and a 9K guy. It's not Wyndham that's being put in there. And then if it's Scotty and drop him way down, you're on a completely different build anyway. It's a no cut.
I was surprised that Lowry wasn't more popular this week. Or is he popular and I'm just not seeing it?
I think you're just not seeing it. It's somewhere in the middle, though.
Is it that he's popular on DraftKings, but people aren't betting him? Is that
Still a
potentially what
couple
it is?
cards with him that I had that I usually check. So,
I mean, if you were one of the idiots, myself included, who bet him at the Masters, why wouldn't you bet him here at the same number or better?
yeah,
that seems crazy.
It got brought up a few times. I think that's interesting too. But yeah, it looks like because he's at that sort of mid price range, that 8,500. When people are going balanced, it's kind of more. We'll get to it, but I think that's people are playing multiple guys from up top or like a Scotty and a drop down type situation. So you're just not going to see very many people get there. You're going to be able to find leverage on most guys that you want.
Well, there's not really much of a wave advantage this week with it being 69 players, which is nice and everything, but there's no cut. Guys are just going to kind of filter out onto the course, much like we saw at API. Maybe it's like some very, very early versus very, very late is a way that you could go, but that even gets jumbled on day two, so it's really a one-day strategy if you're trying to do underdog, pick'em, or showdown, or something like that.
Yeah,
but
first round leader, same thing.
I see no weather to really be concerned about at all. Maybe a little bit on Sunday, but that's I mean, from Wednesday morning to Thursday morning, it's going to change a ton. I don't really want to project out, well, it looks kind of windy on Sunday. It's like, that's great. If I have guys in contention that hit the bad wave, that means I'm doing okay.
Just get your guys there and let whatever happens, happens. You don't have control over that. But I think, yeah, it's going to be much more of a roster construction week. It's going to be much more of a how do we beat the laziness of people just playing the same thing, which will lead to certain roster constructions. And then remembering that it's a no cut, which I think is important because, I said it multiple times. Everybody knows it, but for some reason, it doesn't seem like they're willing to apply it. Like I said, in that one example, people just naturally choose two big names that had good weeks last week versus the other side of it. And it's like they're not understanding that there's certain guys in that 6K range that do fit this course setup quite well, that do get to play all the holes that everybody else gets to play. And that matters in golf. It's not like, people talk about in Showdown all the time, give another strategy piece. It's like the Showdown slate, everyone's playing 18 holes today. When you go to round 2 Showdown, they're all getting 18 holes. One guy's 12K, one guy's 6K. Their chances of them being close are much closer than usual, though. In football, we do a ton of NFL Showdown stuff. Shout out Run the Sims. We do all that stuff. You're begging for a guy like me last year for Jawan Jennings. I need Deebo Samuel to get injured for Jawan Jennings to be valuable at $5,000 less. In golf, that's not even close to the same. They're getting the same holes no matter what, but people are somehow swaying the skill level way beyond what it actually is when they're getting the same amount of golf holes. Similar in a no cut, they are going to get to play. Usually the risk is the missed cut. That's not happening here. So the skill is different, but not as much to sway it as much. That's my point.
I would like to mention, I think it's a travesty that this is not a full field cut event. The Heritage should not be an elevated event. Mm-hmm. This tournament is fun as it is. It does not need all these guys here. I mean, they can all play if they want to. That's great.
Fix it, yeah.
But I want to see 144 guys on this course. I love it.
So the counterpoint is, I guess, and I'm with you, kind of, but also want to say it the other way, is like I said this about the Honda, for example, which is now the Cognizant or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I do want to see the best of the best go play on that course on the, but I want the full field of it too. I want my cake and eat it too. I think the same thing here. I love that we're getting all the top players on a course that we love. We talk about, you love it. Like we go on about this one all the time. It's great. We know it. Everybody knows it. I like that. But then when it's only 69 guys and no cut, it now takes away from the excitement on their side. At least for me. Everyone can hate on that or do their own thing, bash it, whatever. But I would prefer still to play this course, still all these guys, but then add in the rest too. Let's play at 120 or something.
Especially at a course like this, where I do think that if you expanded it to 144 like it used to be, you just make so many more people live. Like you might see Brian Stewart battle it out with Scheffler down the stretch because it's this stupid course.
Yeah, it would be much better. I want to see these best players on these courses that we talk about all the time that we're like, we get 5 or 6 guys show up for it, but then I want more. I want it to be a cut event. I want everything else to go with it. So yeah, it's one of those things.
And even to look at it, I thought the original idea, maybe this changed and I just didn't pay attention, of the signature events was to roll them around to give more pub to some other tournaments. Mm-hmm. Like, why are we doing the Heritage 2 years in a row? Why are we doing Travelers 2 years in a row? I guess they moved it from Torrey to Pebble. Like, that was nice. Mm-hmm. But we can't move this one to the Byron Nelson, or we can't move the Travelers to John Deere or 3M. Or something like that. Rocket Mortgage. Like, just change it up a little bit. I just don't like it the week after. Because I think that it's coming up, we have Wells Fargo. Is it Wells Fargo?
Memorial.
PGA Championship, Memorial, U.S. Open Travelers. There's 2 majors and 3 signature events in like 7 weeks or something. Mm-hmm. That's a nice run and everything, but maybe space them out a little bit?
I also like your take, too. I guess I don't know what people's opinion would throw it in the comments, but I think if you gave like a John Deere or a 3M or a Rocket Mortgage and let these guys dice it up. Let's go. Let's find that 35 under out there and see if it exists. Like, I don't know. Like, it's exaggerated, but I'm saying maybe it can happen. Like, I would love to see that. Force them out. And it's a signature event, big boy prize. An area that you would never normally see all these players go, help out, give it to the fans, and then they say they want scoring, let's go get it. And let's get cameras out there and have it ready to roll and just firing away and eagles, birdies, everything flying. I would love that. That'd be a great event.
It'd be like I think it was the Deutsche Bank, when it used to be 4 rounds of the FedEx Cup playoffs. I always think it was leg 2 when it would go to Boston, at TPC Boston. I think DJ was. Scheffler shot a 59 1 year there and wasn't even, I think Dustin won by 12. He was like minus 35.
It's not for everyone, and it's not great all the time, but it's no different. Like, so we want carnage some weeks. That's great. We'll take it. It's like, again, I'm tired of like gimmicks and shit more than I would like to see. Still throw them out on a golf course that has a cut, that is a normal event, But yeah, if the pins are very gettable and it's going to be low scores, that's awesome for that week. But we just never get to see it. It's like you said, it's always like, why are we back at the RBC Heritage again with a 69-man field with this? There's always going to be complaints. I guess my point would be there is other ways to do it, and I'd be excited about that.
Did you buy into this Rory going to live stuff?
No.
Because I've been hearing rumors about this for a while.
Yeah.
But I assume they were all... When there's unsubstantiated rumors like this, it's usually derived from like one person to begin with. Whether it's true or not, I have no idea. And then it gets out to like one or two people. And then like people hear about it for 2 months or 6 weeks or something. And then when it comes around, it's like, oh, I've been hearing about this for a while. It's most definitely true. And it could have just been seeds planted ages ago.
There was more seeds, like that chubby guy or whatever that supposedly mentioned he'd heard about it over there. And then there was like Rory moving back home, like overseas. Rory going off the players board and Jordan Spieth stepping in. Him and Spieth having text battles and left the text group. Like there's all these things that apparently are legit and whatever exists out in the world of golf. But I would say that Rory... Like, a lot of guys went back on their word, said one thing, and then went and joined Liv. Sure. But Rory's would be quite the heel turn because he really was adamant. I know that the PGA Tour hung him out to dry and the Jay Monahan, and I know all this stuff following it. I'm saying it just seems like it would have been a lot versus I actually said, and Kenny and I were on Fantasy Golf Degenerates talking about Rahm very early on. I said, I think he's like throwing a number out there. He's saying if the format could change. He's talking about that now on Liv. If he's saying 400 million wouldn't change our life, I don't think. Then he gets that type of offer. It's like, I felt like he was almost like a feeler. And then when you got guys like Phil and Sergio and them, easy to sort of get brought into the mix. And now it seems like he regrets it a little bit, but is what it is. He's got the bank account. Rory, I felt like it would be a really big walk back of everything that he said and stood for. And he's already got all the money, man. It's not like, you know what I mean? You can change. It's hard to say. Like, I just don't see him doing it. I just wouldn't see it.
I didn't see it either, but it seemed like just everyone was like, yeah, he's most definitely going to go. He's most definitely going to go.
He said he didn't even get an offer. That was the one I had a harder time believing. Because he went on the interview yesterday when Todd Lewis went out and talked to him. Was like, we heard this. Can you clarify? He's like, I haven't even talked to them before. Really? I know he's like not good with Norman and them, but like, really? No offer? They didn't even try and get him over?
I mean, his agent might have just said pass. Like, I don't care what it is.
Possible.
So therefore, there is no offer that actually comes in because nothing was officially
or the
offered.
technicality of that side of it. Correct. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
So
yeah,
you can technically lie without really lying
Yes.
about that. Because there was also rumors that like Victor was going to leave this week too.
I feel like that would be more likely to happen, to be honest, than Rory.
I would agree, but I had heard nothing about that.
But same, we've been waiting on the Cantlay Xander combo pack.
Give them to live. I don't need these guys on the PGA Tour. Great, to ship them off to Siberia. It's fine.
Was your takeaway on the same topic, quick, and we'll keep on, but it kind of ties into the Masters. Remember I told you how hyped I was for it and excited like everybody was, but like the fact they're all back to it. Did you think it was great, lackluster? Like what was your overall takeaway on the Masters now, like letting it rest in and we're here on a Wednesday the following week?
It was difficult for me not being in my regular setup and being in Vegas, trying to set up stuff, having to meet people, trying to prep shows like everything was going on. So I didn't really get the full Masters experience that I normally get, which was kind of disappointing, which is one of the main reasons I don't love traveling to do the show. It's because I miss out on a ton. Like it'll be easier when we do President's Cup because football is on the weekend and that's 3 days of golf. Like I'm not missing anything on a Tuesday.
Right.
Like I'm doing my show and like we're doing it all together throughout the course of the week and everything will remain static like that. But it's not like I'm trying to watch 8 hours of golf and do shows and prep and set up equipment and get logistics done. Like it was just a lot. And traveling in itself is inherently more stressful than being in the regular location where you watch stuff. But I thought for 3.75 rounds, it was an amazing tournament.
Yeah.
And then as soon as it wasn't really Scotty's fault, it was Ludwig, Morikawa, and Homa all just gassing up within 20 minutes of each other. It's like, oh, it's over.
That was my line. The back nine is usually when it starts. This is when it ended. As soon as those guys hit that hole, it was pretty much over and gifted it to Scotty. I was going to say, I agree with you. The 3.75 factor was kind of how I was thinking in my mind. Still an amazing tournament. All the excitement that was there. I thought a live letdown caused for what could have been, like obviously like Brooks didn't show up, Rahm didn't show up, like these guys were gone.
It was fine as long as Bryson had remained in it and he took himself out late on
himself out too. And I'm not the biggest Bryson guy, so like DraftKings wise I'm playing him and I get all that stuff, but it wasn't like he wasn't the same. I would want to see the Rahm Scotty situation. Then obviously it led to the super awkward Butler cabin with Rahm sitting there. It was almost like Spieth-esque of how his face looked in there, and they didn't really give him much cred for the previous year. They gave him, oh, you won on Sevy's birthday. That was amazing. You'll always be a great champion. All right, back to it. Like, they know they're not supposed to give him a bunch, but it was kind of interesting from that perspective. The Neil Shipley guy, Quite an interesting dude as well. Did you see him in the left look that he does for the tiger note and then again in the cabin?
I just thought that he was kind of awkward.
Yeah.
And some people, it's he'd never been on that sort of stage before.
I'm
Like
going to sponsor his ass. Ship it.
Yeah.
They said it right on the broadcast, so we'll have to get him involved. Maybe get his caddy a hat if he wants to get back in the mix. But
There you go. I guess, will he be back at the Masters next year?
Top Am?
Does Top Am get re-invited if you remain an amateur?
I forget. I don't know.
Most guys turn pro.
Yeah, that's what happens. I don't know that ruling. But yeah, either way, solid Masters. We're happy. We'll have a bunch of events coming up. Like you said, we got a couple signatures coming up in the next couple of weeks, and then we got the PGA Championship, and then Memorial you talked about. We're going to roll it out from there. So a lot of good golf coming up.
What if we just got rid of the Zurich?
Definitely.
Turn this into a bye week, and then just push the Heritage to next week.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be much easier for everyone? And like people would be excited?
Well, that you reminded me. I think, yes, they would, and that is what people called for that I actually really liked, was make the Zurich the week after. It's a hangover week anyway. If some of these guys that played in the Masters still want to go out, let's say, Matty Fitz.
With his brother.
It's fun. You're chilling with your brother. Try and win it. If you're in the mix, go hard. If you're out of it, enjoy the week with your brother and move on. You don't have to come back until the signature event the next week. You can kind of just take it easy and have some fun. I don't know anything about their stress levels or whatever it is down the stretch. It's obviously very important to some people to win that event because what it means. Remember John Rahm dragging Ryan Palmer along back then and stuff like that.
No different than you still see Davis Riley and Nick Hardy in some of these events. Like, how the hell are these guys on tour?
It matters.
Oh, yeah, they won this last year.
Yeah, so it matters, but a lot of those guys weren't in the Masters, so that's why it also would make more sense. I'm with you 1,000%. I just think that's the flip-flop that you do. Make the Zurich the week after. Everything goes well, and you get back to a signature event. Then it's the Byron Nelson. Then it's the Wells Fargo. The Wells Fargo heats up for the major. We had Valero heat up for the major this year.
And Valero was really good this year to watch.
Solid.
And it had, like 5 good guys? Like 5, quote, good guys in it?
Yeah, I didn't love it as much, but it was like, again, it's a better ramp up than what some of these other tournaments would be. Wells Fargo will be really good leading into the PGA Championship, which should be awesome.
We saw a bunch of guys at Summerlin when we played. Scott Piercy was there.
Nice.
Justin Suh was there. Matt McNeely was there. I think it was Matt McNeely. Scott Piercy is missing putts from everywhere.
No, of course.
On the practice green. No different than me. I had 8 3-putts.
Oh,
when
wow.
you haven't played in 6 months, like the ball striking wasn't bad, but I couldn't hit a wedge, I couldn't chip, and I could not putt. And Jeff almost had a hole in one.
Oh, wow. I missed that part.
Yeah.
Nice.
He was pretty good. Joe drove 16, I think it was, 15 or 16. Joe can pound the ball. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good at golf. Let's maneuver over to DraftKings right now, like Scheffler, Rory, Xander, Ludwig, Cantlay, Morikawa, all above $10,000. What do you think is going to be the chalkiest start here? Xander, Ludwig? Or do you think-
Something that starts with them, or
Is it both of them, or is it one of them then Fleetwood?
I think it's Xander, Fleetwood, but if people need the $400, Oberg is right there as well. It's hard to tell where it's going to land between Xander and Oberg, but I think people are just in on Ludwig now.
So do you want to try Ludwig Fleetwood then?
Yeah, we can start there. What I guess is the biggest question for me is like what you think happens down low. I think it's definitely some of those $7,400 guys in Glover, but like that's what I want to find out. Does that land you on these two dudes? And then we know. Like if you go Glover, who's the $7,400 guys you said? You said Tom Kim, Cam Davis.
But maybe it won't be. Maybe it won't be those guys. If everyone's going to use Glover, that leaves you with 76, and then I think you're back in like the Bez, Brian Harmon range.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It's tough to say. I could see like the first one I got to was Oberg, Fleetwood, Russell Henley, and then it goes to Glover with your choice of the two $7,400 guys. If it's Tom Kim and Davis or Taylor Moore and Davis, or
It looks like it might be Taylor Moore.
I think so. That's what I have.
Taylor Moore, Cam Davis. So you said Henley and who?
Yeah, so there's the starting point. So it's projects insane. Ludwig with Fleetwood, and then you could drop down to Henley in the 8K range, Davis and Moore in the 7K range, and Glover at 6,800. Easy to change it up. I'm just saying that's pretty much where it starts.
Yeah, so the first thing that I would do just to get, Davis or Moore could be Tom Kim, like you said, because he's also 7,400. Because this leaves $100 on the table, right?
Yes.
So option one, just to make this completely different, turn Davis or Moore into Harris English immediately. I think would be the move.
Yeah, that's a natural pivot. Again, part of it is what I said earlier. Like this is the construction. This week is the key. We nailed this last week. We told everybody
we did, and it was
multiple 6K guys. We're like cap your 7s. It ends up being one 7K guy in the optimal, and I believe most of the winners as well. And that was sort of the setup. And I honestly think this week doesn't look that much different because the chalk is all in the 7K range. Whether it's to get Scotty or to use some of those upper guys, it's basically the rest of it's going completely overlooked. Yet we have a really strong field still, a smaller field, and they're going to get to play every hole.
So I'm not exactly sure where all the ownership ends up coming in, but from the upper half of the sevens, it appears like Harman and Bez will likely be the most popular, but that could be flopped with Akshay, Denny, and Kirk, who all seem to be... I bet you if we put Scotty into this lineup, you could fit like 4 of those guys in with him.
That's how the Scotty ones start for sure. It's going to be like Scotty, 2 of those $7,400 guys, 1 of Bez or Denny or something like that there that you mentioned. I think Denny and Akshay, remember, gets the love no matter what. I know,
as he should.
Yeah, and so I think that's gonna continue. We'll see.
Here's the lineup right here.
What do you got?
I just need one more lower sevens guy, like low sevens. So I'm seeing Glover, Pavon, Hoagie are probably the 3 most popular of like the 7 and below. Although Eckroat seems to be getting some love as well, which I was surprised about. Maybe that's a fantasy national thing.
No, I think he's still in the mix.
So let's throw Eckroat into this if he's going to be the most popular guy below Lucas Glover.
So what do you got?
So if we go Scheffler, Glover, Eckroat, that leaves us $7,800. And then you're like Harman, Bhatia, and then you got $8,000 Siwoo. I think you're going to see lineups of this ilk. Now, whether Harman and Bhatia are Kirk and Benan or something like that, it might be.
Yeah, the interest, at least for this one, you feel like you're getting a little bit different because you have lower owned guys likely in some of them. But this would be the prime example where I believe, I think it's $100 off. But yeah, you can go to Ludwig and then take Glover up to, you're $100 shy. Was there a guy at 6,300 you like? I thought there was someone at 6,300 I like.
63?
Yeah, let me see.
Dietrich?
Dietrich, that's who it was.
Yeah.
And Hodges is there too, mind you.
I like Dietrich better.
I like Dietrich. So this is the one. So it can be, if you're good with Dietrich, Harman, Akshay, and Siwoo, that's where it becomes the Fleetwood, Oberg, or Scotty and Glover. But you know what would be interesting in this lineup? You mentioned it earlier. I kind of like this one now. Kitayama and Scotty. So Scotty, Kitayama, Dietrich, Harman, Bhatia, Siwoo. That feels like it's got some upside there and no ownership.
Yeah, well, as soon as you replace Glover with Kitayama, like, your lineup's different.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's for sure. I agree. Like, that's one of the things I note, though, all the time is, like, it's, pivoting is saving you on ownership. It's dropping everything down for you from that perspective. Total ownership, your product ownership, all these things are things we talk about, but the construction stays the same. Like, that's what I think people do, right? They build that first lineup that you and I have, which we also nailed the chalkiest lineup of the week when we had the balanced version of that Xander, Decky, whatever it was. So when people build that and they're like, oh, I'll just change this guy to that guy and that guy to that guy, and I'm different. You are. You put 2 different guys in than the 2 that are the most duped. But people confuse being unique with being unique construction. So what I'm saying by that is, like, you end up with a unique lineup or a less duped lineup because of that swap, but your construction is shit. It's still the same as everybody else's, so you're 2v2 against the world. You're boxed out in a lot of cases and needing a lot of things to go your way still, even though you're unique on those two specific players.
So I'm going to leave $100 on the table. So I've configured this around a little bit to get to a lineup that I like a little bit better.
Okay.
So it's still Scotty, Kitayama, Dietrich. So we get rid of Glover and we get rid of Eckroat. Basically turn Glover and Eckroat into Kitayama and Thomas Dietrich. And then that range where I had Siwoo, Siwoo, Harman, and Bhatia. I turned those 3 guys, a 3v3, and leaving $100 on the table into Lowry, Benan, and Hoagie. So the no-putt all-star team right now at the Heritage.
Yeah, and this is much better, and I'll talk about it, but you said Hoagie was the guy to round it out, leave $100?
Yeah.
Okay, and
you could use Shank or Todd if you wanted to, but
so this is a great example because it projects like 8 points less than what our best one was at the beginning. That is nothing. Projections, again, just something to look at to know. The ownership is insanely low on this with Hoagie, and we'll see if, like I said, Lowry may end up 15%. That's fine, though, because then you still have Dietrich and Kitayama with low to nothing. And then Scotty, whatever he comes in at, is probably more in check than what you would expect for a typical spot like this. So there's that, but really, you have Scotty with an 8K guy. You only have 2 7K guys, not 3 or more, and you don't have any of the $78, $77, or $7,400 guys. You went high-low, and then you did not go to Glover, which a lot of Glover lineups will be Scotty lineups or Oberg Fleetwood style, or Xander Oberg, Xander Fleetwood, like somewhere in that combination to make that work. So that's why I'm saying there's some of the same guys. You mostly pivoted, but you have a completely unique construction all around the board.
And this uses guys that I like.
And still almost hits the original projection if you are classifying that in there as well.
So let's throw that in. Let's try Scotty Wyndham.
Yeah, let's do the Scotty Wyndham.
It's pretty easy to do, like if you're comfortable with Dietrich, Glover, and Kitayama and those guys. We just throw Dietrich in right away. We're back up to 71.
I want to do your Dietrich Kitayama and see, and even if we do Hoagie, because that leaves us
70.
off the $73, $7,400 guys still.
No, it puts us back in that range, though, because that's what it ends up at 7,300.
You like Sungjae, Keegan, Straka, or Steven Yeager?
Probably Yeager.
I'm fine with that. So this projects 5 points better than what, so 3 off the original. And you got Scotty Wyndham, Yeager, Hoagie, Kitayama, Dietrich.
Who are the guys in the 6K range that you do like?
Let's see here. So right now,
Like, do we want to use Dunlap in one of these lineups?
Kitayama, Dunlap, Mackenzie Hughes, Dietrich, who you mentioned. I'm going to take some shots on Webb, 6,200.
Just his course?
Yeah, and I still have him a little bit better than the guys that, some of the guys at least around him for a setup wise. So, of course, Fit likes him a little bit. I'll go there.
Well, Seamus Power was the interesting one to me for like no money whatsoever. Like, dude can't drive to save his life right now, but the iron's been really good. Really good. Better than the rest of his game, which is what you would need at this course.
And I think Hodges and Putnam would just be two guys that I always play. So I feel like good about some. I guess my take will be when we get there and some of the stuff I'll do over at Chip It Nation, just the 6K range is definitely solid to me. Like I really don't care about the difference of everybody's just going to jam the same $7,400 guys. There's definitely going to be guys in the 6K range that smash them.
Well, I wonder, and I can do this on Fantasy National pretty quickly, if I just sort by scoring. Mm-hmm. Let's see, distant short game, driving and putting, scoring. My custom scoring model. See how that works out. Birdies are better gained. And let's see who's down there. Dunlap is 5th over the past 12 rounds.
So let's use him. Who else you got?
Who else is low? Grayson Murray is 13th. I don't love that one. Dietrich,
let's get him in there.
Hadwin. Is anyone bringing up Hadwin?
No. Another guy,
I feel
6,700.
like I brought this up on Monday with Jeff that every year it felt like we came into the Heritage to be like perfect course for Adam Hadwin. I think he was always a disaster.
What's his betting number?
I don't know. No idea.
Had can win.
Let's see.
That's the thing. What is the
never finished better than 22nd at the Heritage over the past 10 years.
What are type? Okay, I think I have it here. What are some of his finishes? 26th, 22nd, 30th. I mean, those are 1 or 2 strokes away from saying he's got 3 top 10s.
Sure,
here.
a lot of miscuts on that board.
Yeah. Who are now in this birdies barrage you got? I'm happy with Hadwin, Dietrich, and Dunlap. Who are some of the sort of guys up the board that pop in the upper range?
Scotty, Clark, and Cam Young.
Scotty, Clark. How much is Cam Young this week?
87.
Wow.
So,
what about anybody like Siwoo and Harmon?
One sec here. So we had Dunlap, Dietrich, and who?
Hadwin.
Dietrich and Hadwin. And we try to jam in Scheffler. Or do we leave Scheffler off of this one?
Well, if you go, let's leave Scheffler off for a second. Where does
actually we can do this pretty easy.
No, we're so close to getting the 3 dudes you said that it's like we got to just find it.
Ben Ann is the next high, like the one that fits, because Burns is 4th, Fitzpatrick is there as well.
What's Ben Ann's rank?
He is 8th.
Oh,
he's just behind.
So
Rory.
you get Scotty, Wyndham, Ben Ann with those 3 dudes.
Yeah,
and you got to pivot off of Glover, and you got to line up with 1 7K guy and 3 6Ks, which is definitely different. And the ownership's the lowest yet, and it's about 12 points less,
which is not
than the original, which is nothing. When we're saying we're looking for spike rounds, the other thing people don't factor in because it's hard for the variance with it of like the streaks and the birdie bonuses and the all 4 under 70s or whatever else could be out there. That's tougher to ask. But
I mean, that difference is a birdie streak from one guy.
Right. And so when you're building a lineup like this that's built around scoring, the way I see it, at least, is that while there's lots of things that get baked into projections that you don't want to double count, there's the variance to all of that can change the game very quickly in a game like PGA DFS. So when you have guys like this, there's actually multiple of them that can account for it that is going to exceed. Obviously, they can blow up too, but lineup construction matters. But I think this is Overall, pretty solid lineup, and no 8Ks. No, none of the other guys up top like Xander or Oberg or Cantlay. So no 10s is a thing this week. By the way, we never talk about this, like skipping the 10K range.
I told you when I won big here, that's what I did.
But when you've got Xander, Oberg, Cantlay, and Morikawa coming off one of his better weeks, it's like that actually is a thing this week, going with Scotty or Rory or both, and then dropping down.
Why don't you just build this lineup? Fitzpatrick, Spieth, Wyndham, Clark. 3 9K start.
Definitely unique. And then do you want your boy Kitayama in there?
Yeah, I'd say we throw in like Kitayama, maybe Dietrich. See what we're left with.
Yeah, what's Dietrich do for us?
I think we can get back up to...
Ooh, are we Cam Young money? No, we're $100 short.
We're Finau Lowry, though. Are you going to use Justin Thomas? Because the way that we've constructed these lineups so far, that the number one thing that jumps out to me is that it's going to be very difficult to, A, get to the Homos, Spieths, and Fitzpatricks of the world, because you're going to want to have Ludwig, Xander, or Tommy, like 2 of those 3, or Scotty, which then takes all these guys out of the question.
The craziest thing, though, Pat...
And then you end up with like Finau and Justin Thomas. Like, how can you play those guys?
That's the thing, but it's all generated off of last week. Everything we're talking about, Oberg is a super talent. So not necessarily him, but like the Fleetwood stuff, the Morikawa stuff, they all are talented, but the price is adjusted for that. I think even on this lineup, I just filled it out with Lowry and saved it. But if you just put in Spieth and Clark to start your lineup,
Okay.
just going right back to what we did last week, and it was close. JT at 8,400.
Who makes a ton of sense at this course. Now, granted, he can't putt right now, which is an issue, but maybe he can. I mean, I bet on Lowry. Dude lost 8 strokes putting last week. He finished 16 strokes behind Ludwig on the greens. Ludwig gained 8. Lowry lost 8. You just get Lowry to putt like Ludwig. He wins the Masters.
And also, too, the smaller greens. So maybe for JT, that can help him out, because if he's not hitting the greens, he's going to have to get it up to the green and probably make these shorter ones. It's some of the other stuff that's not going down. But I guess he would definitely seem underpriced to me. Sam Burns, I guess, would seem underpriced to me as well. And we've seen him show up at Scotty spots in the past. Plenty of Scotty spots. So if you really liked Scotty here and you weren't playing him or not in this lineup, now you land on 7,400, but you have the most unique construction we've done yet. So who are the guys that you would say are underpriced? Tom Kim, I think you said, is 45-1.
He is. I would actually go with Harris English here, who I thought played pretty well last week. And just he's getting 0 buzz. Like, what did Harris English end up finishing? He was...
Oh, you got the perfect lineup.
He was T22 last week.
You get
everyone wants every other single guy who came inside the top 25. They want all them. You want Cam Davis. Although, what did he end up finishing? Like 12th?
Man, this is the one right here. You can finish with Harris English, Sung Jae Im.
I was going to say Keegan, but...
They're both, you could do either or. I'm obviously going Sung Jae for who's underpriced in this range, but Keegan would count in that too.
Sung Jae actually makes the most sense because it's the perfect style of Sung Jae course.
And he does well here.
Yeah.
But he's broken. He's definitely... I think it's actually because he got skinny.
I agree.
Yeah, well, Sung Jae Slim is a real thing.
Well, Slim Sung Jae, I mean, it works one of 2 ways. I can't remember if I brought this up with you or who I brought it up with, but... he and Siwoo got their military service taken off. And since Sung Jae's been like, don't care.
He came like 5th the event after, though. That's because I remember that take at the time. I was like, that's probably a good thing.
The one at Century when he fired at every pin. He broke like the birdies record.
The birdie record. He had like 33 birdies or so. 36. It was something insane. But my point is, yeah, the slim factor. I don't know if that's what it is, but it's definitely not been good for Sung Jae lately. I know he had Willie Wilcox on the bag and everyone was saying that. And like, just hasn't been good with it. But I think he's working on some swing stuff heavy.
I can see it. Do you want to build a Rory lineup?
Yeah.
How much of Rory do you think that you're going to get here versus the other guys above 10K?
I'm definitely going to attack it because...
Like, will you have as much Rory as Scotty? I will not.
I won't, no. I'll have more Scotty than Rory, but I might have more Rory than those 10K guys.
More than Xander, more than Ludwig?
Yeah, like I don't even think I built a Xander lineup yet, and he's great. I'm just saying it's like that's part of the thought process here this week is that everyone's going to build very similar. So I'm going to build against that.
I think if you're going to use Rory, you might as well have to do it. Like you can play some of the chalk guys, obviously, because Rory's going to come in lower owned, especially if we do think that Scheffler gets that kick that the projections aren't showing. Like the biggest swing the other way is going to be Rory. It has to be. Yeah,
it's just why I don't believe the Scheffler thing, because of what the ownership projections aren't showing it because people are generating them themselves for the most part, and they're subjective or whatever it might be. The actual projections are jamming Scotty everywhere, and that's why I would take the over 20% on him when many seem to think he's 10 to 15 or something.
So Fantasy National right now, and this is just based on, 6,000 lineups that have been generated so far. It's 15.5% Scotty lineups, 6% Rory lineups. I could see Rory being like sub 5. Like, who the hell wants to play Rory? Especially in a lazy week.
If you're going up there, you're either going to Scotty or you're playing Xander, Ludwig,
Exactly.
Cantlay, whatever. You're right. Like, that's why Rory is the leverage play here. It's just whether or not he shows up and does anything.
And then in the 9s, Homa, Spieth, and Zal, and Thigala to a lesser extent too, at 89.
Yeah,
Just
Thigala always gets the little boost at the end. And
It's harder to play him this week, though.
Yes. The best buy pricing in the 8K range at 8,900, but tougher to get to that 8K range in general or land there. Most people aren't landing there is a better way to say it. So that's kind of the point.
Because I'm seeing Lowry spike a little bit in terms of ownership. I still even find that pretty hard.
So who are the 8K guys? Speaking of, you know what you could start with? Speaking of Rory and Lowry, partners next week at the Zurich Classic.
Are they actually?
Yeah. Rory's playing it with his boy Lowry.
Why is Rory playing in the Zurich?
I have no idea. He wanted to.
Maybe that's why he wanted to go to LIV. He's like, oh my God, I committed to this terrible tournament. Get me off this stupid tour.
Shane Lowry, man. But that would be a different build if you liked. Who do you like in the 8K range? That's a better way to ask.
I like Lowry.
Okay, and who else do you like?
I like Sahith. I like Lowry. That's no different than anyone else. And why not Finau? Like, were we really troubled by how he played last week? I thought he played fine.
No, I'm just trying to build the Pat lineup that I just found. So.
Like, Siwoo should be in there then.
Well, I was going to put him, but I didn't know if there was a guy. Oh, yeah, I found it. This is good. We can get Siwoo in there, but this one I think you'll like. Rory, Thigala, Lowry, Harris English, Hoagie, Kitayama.
Oh, yeah. I like that. I mean, I don't like Rory. But
no, for a Rory lineup.
For a Rory lineup. Just, if I'm going to build lineups, then this is what I'm doing.
I think that's one of the things, too, especially most people watching this probably are playing limited lineups. And so they either just take what the optimizer gives them, if we're talking like a 20 max for them, or they're hand building. And I don't have a problem with when you're building a hand build lineup with a guy like Rory, which you're not loving Rory, you're saying, let's build one. Why not put them with your guys with a construction that's different? You're not, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's what my point was earlier, Pat, tying it together now. A lot of people are just going to take their best Scheffler lineup, drop Rory down. It's a chalky Scheffler lineup already. They're going to take Scheffler, drop him to Rory, and find out one guy they can upgrade and say, boom, I'm different. No, you have 4 of the same dudes that were just in the Scotty lineup. Now, instead, you're leveraging that because you have a completely different roster construction
let's do
and
that.
Unique guys.
I just loaded back in the first Scheffler lineup that we built.
So what was it again?
We did amend it already. Because we took Glover out of it, and we got off of that like 74 and 78 range. So it's like Lowry, Benan, Hoagie, Kitayama, Dietrich, like the way that we had built it out. But let's just, as an exercise, take out Scheffler and turn him into Rory and just try to see how that looks. You get an extra $2,200. So you can either upgrade Lowry to Xander, or you can take Kitayama and Dietrich and turn them into like mid-8s or high-8s guys.
Yeah, I think you can get like Rory, Xander, Hadwin.
Rory, Xander. Yeah, you turn Hoagie. Yeah, you turn.
And you still have those guys.
Kitayama into Hadwin.
Yeah. Not far off, way lower owned, completely different construction. 2 guys up top with no Cantlay, Morikawa, Oberg, or Scheffler. Or any of those guys, really. And then you didn't hit that mid 7K range that everybody's on. You maxed out at 2 7K guys. And in the 6Ks, you didn't use that extra $100 to get Glover. Mind you, if you were playing something higher dollar, smaller field, I think you could just skip Hadwin and go to Glover here. Because if you like him, I'm saying, because you're not, it's going to project better. You're still in good shape here. And it's not where you just did the Scotty Glover thing to Rory Glover. It's you still have Xander in the mix with Rory. You have Benny Ann, Hoagie, and Dietrich. Like, you're way off the board.
So I turned Hadwin into Dunlap.
Okay.
And I turned Ann into Henley.
Yeah, like that's fine too.
Or you could turn Henley into Burns if you really wanted to. But it leaves $100 on the table this way.
Kind of like the thought process of like a Rory Burns lineup, and you're saying it's really an if no Scotty spot, because if no Scotty, maybe Rory. If no Scotty, maybe Burns does his thing and be Scotty for a week, like when he wins tournaments that Scotty's supposed to win at.
If that's the mentality that we're going to do, let's go Rory, Wyndham, Burns. Yeah, because right now it's been if it's either if Scotty doesn't win, it's Wyndham Clark who comes in second.
Yeah, this is a good call. And then that leaves us, we have Hoagie to Lowry.
Hoagie to Lowry?
And it lands on Dunlap and Dietrich to round out.
So wait, did you put in, who do you have in here?
Rory, Clark, Burns,
Yeah.
Lowry, Dunlap, Dietrich. I was on the same build you already had up on the screen. I just changed one more
That's
spot.
too many people.
So Rory, Clark,
That's 7 people you listed.
Lowry, Burns.
Oh, it doesn't have Hoagie, is what you're saying.
Right. We took out Hoagie and we're able to get up to Lowry.
Okay.
Leaving Dunlap and Dietrich in.
There it is.
And you don't have anyone near the Glover range.
And no 7K.
No
guys.
7Ks at all. And it's about 10.5 off the original. So, yeah, same thing. Amazing for a no-cut week.
I'm trying to think in single entry or 3 max, let's say, where you're just entering, like trying to build like a higher stakes lineup. What do you think that the build should be for that? Like, would you, if it was just you and you had your $150 or $200 and hey, I need to jam a lineup in here, do you think it makes sense to play Scheffler in those lineups?
I'm still playing Scotty, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not afraid of it this week. I mean, we kept talking about the baby thing all last week, and he kept coming out and putting up solid rounds at Augusta National Golf Club. I think he's going to be just fine.
I do find it funny that the narrative shifted on him so quickly that because it had to be a talking point because I think that the broadcast felt like Scotty is just going to tune everyone on Sunday, that we need to come up with this narrative that's completely, it's not that it's not true. It's what, he was 3 weeks away. Meredith was 3 weeks away from giving birth. Like, come on now.
And a first.
Like, I would get that he would leave if it happened. It's just not likely that she was going to go into labor.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, it's basically 50-50. It's like, no,
And
it's
he even
not.
said on Saturday night, they did the interview, he was like, he agreed that if he gets the call before the round starts, was his wording. I was like, see, the guy's even covering his ass for that. No phones at Augusta now. Obviously, someone would get through to him, but I'm sorry, he ain't leaving up 4 on the back 9. I don't care what anybody says. They'll hold her. They'll do whatever. He's going to finish out his 9 holes and go home. People will probably disagree. I don't care. I don't think it happens.
However, not a narrative this week that I'm hearing about.
Yeah. I think at the start of the week, that's why some people, for some reason, thought this 10 to 15. I know everyone's coming around on it now, but my point is, it wasn't a hot take for me to sit here and say he's going to be over 20%. He's projecting off the board. He's going to be owned.
I thought that he was going to withdraw because he just didn't want to play.
That's what I expected.
But
also, he said he was going home and then went to the local bar, which was pretty incredible. He kept saying, I just want to get home. I just want to get home. And the pictures, he's at the bar, chilling with all the same gear on, just changed his hat. So, yeah, Scotty, man, he's getting the job done. But I would still start with Scotty, and I'll just look to get different.
Scotty Burns' baby swag lineup. Because remember, Burns was on this watch too. It's just he wasn't in contention, so no one cared.
I think people are going to overlook this week, and I'm not scared of it at all. But like Scotty, Oberg, bang, slam it in.
How do you do that?
6,600 left. We like Dietrich already. Like you can
Dietrich, Dunlap, Hadwin.
It eventually gets there where you don't even need that because Dietrich Dunlap already puts you up to there it is, Hadwin, and it's Glover. But
Hadwin Glover.
But how many people are playing Scotty Glover lineups with 3 other 6K guys?
With 4 other 6K guys?
With Glover. I'm saying with Glover, yeah, you're right, but same. Yeah, that's what I'm saying though, is where most people are going to Scotty, or I don't want to play him. I'm going to drop down to Oberg and balance it out. What about doubling up and then just landing in there? They're all getting the same holes, man. Like 7,400 or 6,300, they're playing 72 holes of golf.
And as I keep pointing out, this is a course where the back end can compete in a weird way. That these lineups actually make more sense this week over at Quail Hollow.
I was going to ask you that. I'm glad you brought that point up too, because you know the course very well. You're better at this stuff than me. Like people in our Discord were asking us about these comp courses. I don't focus on it a lot.
Wyndham.
I think, right. And so I was going to say, if I'm building a comp course lineup, like I think everyone at the, Masters, everyone that played this course well has done good at the Masters. I can build a lineup like that, but I don't really just round it out with one guy for a course comp. That was some of the discussion we had. Who are some of the guys in the 6K range that you would say, outside of who we like for scoring and the no cut factor, who are some of the guys that fit the course the best that you could see popping up? Like Webb is my example, but I guess like who else down there fits this course in your mind that you could see having a great week?
Webb and Kisner are the 2 guys.
Kisner's like insanely bad though.
Yeah, so is Webb. So
yeah, I don't know. What has Kisner done? Nothing.
If I just sort by
Webb just made a couple. Webb's made 5 of his last 6 cuts.
What's his best finish?
Doesn't matter. He's 6,200.
Well, he's not going to miss the cut anyway.
Right. I'm just saying.
And Kisner's not going to miss the cut either.
No, but I agree. I know I just said they all play the same hole. I'm talking about who at least has somewhat, some semblance of form if I had to go there. I guess I just was trying to find out who are the guys at the bottom that fit the course.
Paul?
Sounds like you guys need to do a Webb versus Kisner bet.
Oh yeah, I'm up 100 right now on that. So
I mean, I don't love that.
you like Kisner.
I mean, you basically just wrote off
Tambo
Kisner
wins.
as like he's the worst player in the world, where Webb is not that far behind.
So then you should be interested in a even bet.
Well, I think it was more my point that give me an over-under of DraftKings points scored, and I will take the under on Webb Simpson. Like, where does he finish out of 69 players?
You were standing up for your guy, Kevin Kisner.
I was more saying that Webb is more like Kisner than you seem to think.
I would prefer to play Webb over Kisner.
Okay.
Would you give me 5 points? 5 DraftKings points?
No, it's a birdie.
Oh, come on. No fun. Paul, I'm with you. No fun here. All right, so who would fit the course? You know this course, so you know
best
who would these
players
guys-
per round. If we just look at Wyndham, let's just start right there. Best player per round at the Wyndham Championship of players who are in this field over the past 12 rounds: Tom Kim, Henley, Webb, Ben An, Siwoo, Burns, Kisner, Im, Cam Davis, Ludwig, Eric Cole, Taylor Moore, Brendan Todd, Dietrich, Glover, Denny.
So if you just go Webb, Kisner, Eric Cole, like those are like 3 dudes that I could see. I'm not trying to put this because I don't even like Kisner. I just wanted to show something off here. That's your Scotty. Who's the other guy we said? Ludwig. And then you land on, there was somebody you said at 7,300 that fit, I think. Oh, it was Tom Kim. I'm $100 short. Okay, was there another guy at 6,600 or 65?
67, Eric Cole. 63, Dietrich. Glover at 68. 66, Justin Rose.
Okay, Justin Rose. I'm going to take Cole to Rose.
Okay.
Just to show this off. It's not like the best line. I just want to show and then you mentioned Tom Kim. Okay? Cam Davis or Tom Kim fit to round it out. So Scheffler, Oberg, and then you got Tom Kim or Cam Davis with Rose, Webb, Kisner. The lineup is horrible. This is to explain a concept, not say this is a good lineup. It's to explain what you said that I think is really true here. However people want to get there, whether they're doing Wyndham lineups, course fit lineups, birdie maker lineups, whatever. Could you see a world, because of the course that we're playing on, Pat, where these guys do show up, and as boring as it is, and all the people that put out the screenshot that says, nice tournament, when you see these dudes at the top, it's because they're on a course where they can make their bread. And then Scotty and Oberg just do Scotty and Oberg things. And you can make it a little bit better by moving Oberg to Clark or whatever and change out your Kisner play. But my point would be, people seem to be forgetting that when they're going to cap at 1 or 2 6K guys max, when these guys are going to get all the same holes, and they fit this course better than a standard setup. It's not a US Open where we're trying to jam these guys in. It's a 69-man field. Everyone gets 72 holes, and they fit the course way better than a majority of setups out there. That's my point why you shouldn't be afraid of these types of constructions. Pick your own guys and your own ways that you're going about it. But I would bring that up. Like if you swap out Kisner and Ludwig and go to your guy Clark, who you mentioned, you save a bunch of money. That gets you up to 73. You get very close, man.
You have Keegan Bradley.
Yeah.
Who it doesn't seem to be on anyone's radar.
Yeah.
Paul,
there you go.
Paul, you betting Keegan?
Okay, well, let me ask you this.
I hadn't even looked at him.
So, yeah, what do we say about Keegan? East Coast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's usually northeast.
Northeast, that's right. But here would be one then. So Scotty, Clark, Tom Kim, Keegan Bradley, Justin Rose, and Webb Simpson. It's not that insane to imagine that being on the leaderboard. On a Sunday, it projects only like 10 or 11 points off the original, and you have 2 6Ks, 2 7s, a 9, and Scotty, but you skip all the 10s, you skip all the 8s, and you only really have one guy in the 7s, and honestly, Davis or Taylor Moore might be more popular than that spot anyway.
So I made a little collection of courses here and looked at the past 24 rounds of courses I would throw in sort of this cycle. Mm-hmm. So it has Sony, Wyndham, Heritage, Colonial, and I put Sawgrass in it as well, just to get some of the better players into it, because it does usually, like when I think about Sawgrass, I think about those courses at the same time, albeit because there's so much water, the stats can get really wonky with it, so we can look at it both ways. We can look at it this way, and Scotty, Ludwig, Henley, Harmon, Burns are the top 5. Fitz, Benan, Sungjae, Xander, Siwoo are next, and like the worst players are Griot,
Griot's interesting.
Havant, but that's only 6 rounds. And Putnam.
So Griot and Putnam.
Eckroat also tracks well in these. But that's with the players. We take Sawgrass out of this, which is the other one that I wanted to look at. Take out the huge water course of this bunch. And then over the past 24 rounds, it's Pavon, Henley, Burns, Cantlay, Benan. So a lot of Burns, a lot of Henley this week in terms of what's sticking out.
Burns, Henley.
Amongst the courses, Spieth does really well. Tom Kim, Cam Davis, Finau, Matty Fitz again. Poston is one we didn't really discuss at all. Like, these courses are kind of his jam.
Yeah, I was trying to find this other lineup here, but it didn't work. So Poston, you said?
Yeah.
All right, what about
76.
What about this one? That does it. That actually closed it out. And wow, projects much better than I expected. Scotty. This is a good construction. Scotty, Burns, Henley. So
Okay.
Scotty with 2 low 8K guys. Then you get your guy JT Poston, who's up there from the $7,400 range that everybody's on, and down from the Bhatia and the $7,800 guys, and Harmon and Denny and those dudes. And it lands you on Putnam and Eckroat.
Oh, Putnam and Eckroat.
That's a nice lineup too.
I like this better than the Webb Kiz type stuff.
I didn't like the Webb Kiz. I wanted to show off what
That you
people
could do it.
like what people are missing here for some reason, saying these guys suck, forgetting that it's a limited field, they get every hole, and it's a course that anybody that's in this field could actually show up on and not surprise you, because it's a special type of course. It's no different than we go to the US Open. We say, well, here's our betting list. It's down to these 15 guys, maybe 10, and that's what our betting card should be based off of. In DFS at a no-cut event at a course like this with a limited field, you shouldn't be cutting all these guys off, because there is guys in that 6K range that will be in the mix.
Head to head.
Head to head. Let's go. You won again.
I got a 6-6 last week, although like half the field got a 6-6. So
That was brutal, by the way. That was one other thing that really pissed me off.
I really liked it.
I cheered for Carnage. We all been waiting for Carnage. So I was okay. Be careful what you wish for. I get it. To go from a 4 to the 5 was fine. To go from the 5 to the 6 I was talking about you, because I was saying, here comes Pat again, willing this shit to the finish line like Joel Damon that week. That killed me.
I also don't want to hear shit from people, because I saw the 6 coming. Like, I saw it like with the way that the scores were going. It's like, well, Data Golf says it has a 0.1% chance of happening. It's like, I'm watching the fucking golf. I can see guys are making double bogey every time they hit 18.
You are
It
keen.
wasn't that case an hour ago. It is right now. So you have to adjust, because their numbers are going to run off like what has happened throughout the course of the day.
Correct.
So if it's playing harder, and obviously their numbers are going to adjust. But all of a sudden, like, the switch flipped, and guys went from either par or bogey to bogey at best, double basically all the time. It's like, that's going to affect the cut line.
It brought all the chalk, and you are the best at being able to see shit, and you know the courses well enough. And obviously that's the course that everybody knows, but like you can see what's going on. You're very good at reading the board and just factually saying, look, guys, it's not as crazy as you think because of ABC, XYZ. And then what ends up happening is people start to get pissed at you, because like, here comes Pat getting it right again, and he's bringing all these chalk losers back in, and then everyone's mad, including me. And I'm like, God, Pat just has this ability to will it home and get his guys there. And I didn't want, it was like Henley, Siwoo, Matsuyama, every chalk dude was sitting there at 6, and my best guy was 3. And I was fine when it went from 4 to 5. 5 to 6 did suck.
The other thing when looking at the leaderboard to see which way that it's going to go that I don't think enough people factor in is the quality of player that needs to drop. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, Thomas and Hideki were the big ones that got us there. You didn't expect that, but everyone was just free-falling at that point. But when you saw some of the other losers who were like +4 with 2 holes to go, it's like, oh yeah, they might not even make the cut.
Yeah.
Because they're bad.
That's part of what you're good at, reading that stuff and recognizing that different than someone just sees a number and a percentage and says, there's no chance. We've seen multiple times this year that number flip from 90 to the opposite way. So it's just the way it goes.
Yeah, and a lot of it is usually due to weather that can't, like, just in real time can't be factored in. It's like, oh, this course is going to get way harder over the next 45 minutes, or way easier. And it can flip the other way and then boxes out what you thought that the cut was going to drop to. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, these guys play it a little bit easier. So it works both ways, obviously. And I'm not trying to say I'm getting this right all the time.
No, you're just tilting people, because when you see, as soon as you kind of like chime in, not so fast.
Yeah, all I say is
everyone's always like,
when I say it's not dead, I mean, like, there's a possibility that it could happen, not that it's going to happen.
It's like a reverse cust. It's like we know when you do it, it's going to go that way. That's what ends up happening.
Maybe, but a lot of the time is like when people say that there is no chance, all I'm saying is that, no, there is a chance that this is going to happen. It's an unlikely chance. I'm not saying it's 50-50. It might be 90-10, but it's still within the range of, like, the realistic.
I'm a realist, so I'm with it. I make fun of it more because it's been right where it's killed me on multiple times. But I do think it's what you said, and I'm a realist. I like to think of it that way. It's definitely a possibility. Stop just going off of a number on a page when here's the quick scenario for you that does turn the corner.
And just to look at it, like this is something I wrote it up for the newsletter this evening because I did some work last night. It wasn't hungover because I wasn't drinking. And I don't think I had to drink the final 2 days in Vegas, so it wasn't a hangover. But like we got delayed coming back. Like we flew from Vegas to Toronto, then we had to fly from Toronto to here. Our flight got pushed back like an hour, then an hour and a half, and then we got stuck on the tarmac for we landed here at like 3:30 a.m. or something like that. Like yesterday, I was just zoned out. Just 4-hour time difference, getting back at like such a crazy time. And I'm still kind of, now that we've been talking, I'm starting to get all my energy back. This is great.
Yeah.
Maybe I can go work out after this too. I was dead to the world yesterday. Like I played with my kids for a bit, then I had to go back and lay down. Like as soon as they went to school, took a nap again. Yeah. But Hoagie was one that I wanted to bring up here. Because if you go and look at Tom Hoagie right now, I'll clear my filters on Fantasy National to make this easy. That if you take a look at where his off the tee game is right now, and you just looked at the straight numbers for it, past 24 rounds in this field, Tom Hoagie off the tee ranks 55th out of 69 players. He is bad off the tee. Well, if you click on Tom Hoagie, you will notice he has gained strokes off the tee in 5 of his last 6 starts. He just happened to lose 9 strokes at the Players' Championship. So it's really one tournament that is preventing him from being at the top of all these models.
Yes.
That sometimes you need to look into it a little bit more. And that was sort of my comparison to when you look at the leaderboard to see if guys are going to go up or fall. Like, who are the guys who need to make the cut line work? Is it Scotty Scheffler? Well, I don't think he's going to make a bogey. Is it Rico Hui? Then yeah, he's probably going to make a bogey.
Or worse. Yeah, exactly.
That just looking at it a little bit deeper rather than just looking at the number. And I'm as guilty of it as everyone else is. But this is one that I really wanted to break down because I liked Hoagie this week. I was like, this makes a ton of sense for Hoagie. Smaller greens, you would think that means you have to chip more. Or, because I just very vividly remember this happened to Graham Dillette at the Heritage one year. He hit 54 or 54 greens in regulation through 3 rounds. And he was winning. I think it was the year that Wesley Bryan stormed back to win. That was another thing at this tournament, too, that there was always a bunch of comeback winners going into the final round. And then the moment that he stopped hitting greens in regulation, it was all over for Graham Dillette. He started making like double bogeys everywhere.
The yips.
But what we've seen from Hoagie is outside of that one tournament where he couldn't drive, gained, like I said, 5 of 6 off the tee. He's gaining, I mean, he had a down week in Houston where he only gained 2 strokes on approach. Before that, it was 6, 8, 5, 7. Like we know the irons can get hot. He's gained strokes putting in 8 of 9 events. He just can't chip. But it was no different than Bhatia at Valero, where it was if he can just lead in greens in regulation, the bad chipping is mitigated in that way. And I know these are smaller greens, but Hoagie can still be so precise with his irons that I think he can take chipping at a play a lot here. And if he's going to run his irons hot, he's going to run his putter hot and drive okay, just even break even, gain a little bit. As long as he can take the chipping out of it, and we saw Stuart Sink, who can't chip, just putt from off the green here. So there's that variable to this course as well. That's why I ended up liking Hoagie so much.
Yeah, 2 bets I'm taking away. One, I'm betting Hoagie right after we hop off the show, and then I'm betting Mackenzie Hughes, first round leader. Those are the 2 bets to take away from everything we talked about today.
First round leader, Hughes.
Yeah, we'll hit those ones. Flip this back.
I might put Dunlap on there too, because I guarantee
I like that one too.
Way down in odds.
Let's do that. Dunlap, Mackenzie Hughes, first round leader. If you don't have the Hoagie outright ticket, Pat already has it, but I'm going to add that one as well.
It's 100 to 1. You can get it with 5 places.
Yep, I'm definitely taking 5 places.
Yeah, got to take the places with Hoagie.
Yes. Yeah.
Head-to-head draft?
Head-to-head, yep. You're up.
You get to go first. Or do I get to go?
No, you do. You won.
Or you get the option.
No, I think winner just goes.
Winner just goes first?
Yeah, you owned it. You win it.
Oh, what do I want to do here? I'll take Scheffler.
There we go. That's all that. What am I going to do then? I'm going to go with... Man. I just wanted to take Scheffler. I guess I'll try Rory out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're not going to do like the Xander Ludwig?
No.
Okay. Interesting.
Oh,
you get 2 picks.
I got to go twice. So
who are you pairing Rory with?
I'm going to do the Rory Burns that we talked about earlier.
Okay. People don't like your head-to-head lineups against me.
Yeah, people have to realize
we're also doing a show here.
Yeah, it's also that. Like it's a head-to-head on a show for free picks. there's pride to it for sure. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of stuff on the line that I'm going to go home and work on tonight that I take a lot more pride in and have to get it right for, my money, my family, the company, all these different factors. So I'm taking it serious, but I'm usually looking to battle against you. Yeah. I'm not just looking to play the best plays.
I'm trying to take my guys too here.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Dietrich and Dunlap with Scheffler. I'll round out the 63 and 65 with Scotty Scheffler.
Right. And so just quickly, because we just don't care, we're talking about it already. It's I think people would say that strategy-wise, we haven't done the best either. Because why are you taking your 2 6K guys, which you'll probably get in the late rounds here?
Those are the 2 6K guys I want.
Right.
I want you to take them.
You want your lineup to build out. And that's
we also can't use the same guys in these lineups.
Right. That's another factor. I'm going to use Henley.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to use, let me see here, one thing. Henley, I said, Burns, Henley. And then I'm going to drop down to, oh, man. I think I'm going to take my guy, Jaeger bombs.
Okay. So I'll take Lowry and Harris English at 85 and 75.
Okay.
And I did not mean to click Jason Day. I'll take him out. Not playing Jason Day this week. Poor guy looked like a cigarette pack on the course.
Hey, my $250 sweater vest didn't come in yet. I already got that one. No, I did not. You see they put it up for sale right away?
That's what it was, $250?
$250 American.
Good Lord.
Good American dollars.
I'd rather get that Anthony Kim Live hat.
I actually wanted that. Someone was at the Live event. I was like, can you pick me that up? I'll rock that hat with the AK on it with the card. What about, you didn't take Cam Young, did you?
I did not, know.
Oh, gosh. Can I get this to work? I don't think so, but I'm double checking. I know who I want at the bottom already, so just to make it work. Oh, yeah, it works. Perfect. I'll round out my lineup with Thigala and Putnam.
Ooh, okay. And I will take Ben Ann as my last pick.
So this is my head-to-head. Let me do mine, and I'll get yours so I can put them against each other for points, even though it never seems to matter. I have Rory with 3 8K guys. Thigala, Burns, Henley. I got my guy Steven Jaeger. None of those $7,400 dudes or 77, 78s. And land on Putnam. And you have Scotty Scheffler.
It's funny. I'm going to out-project you just because I have Scotty Scheffler.
We'll see about that.
Scheffler, Dietrich Dunlap.
Yep.
Lowry, English, Ben Ann.
Talk about a guy that knows how to list. Does it in the order he picked them, even.
All right, I'm also reading it off the screen in front of me.
Yep, you said Ben Ann to round it out?
Yeah.
Ooh, I got you by 13 points.
Perfect. It means I'm going to win by 40.
It's been the case. It has been the case. But
easy game.
Fired up, man, for this week. More than most people are, probably.
This got me back into it. I need to be pulled out of my malaise. And I feel
everyone's doing the same thing this week. We're winning. That's going to be the difference because everyone's just going to do the same thing.
Everyone's doing the same thing. Losing will be winning.
That's what we got to do.
We have to get Charlie Sheen on the show next week.
We had a good. We really pulled it together last week. It turned out to be a huge week, so I think that was good. Just
well, it's just playing it from many different angles, and I think that's the one thing. Like people talk about diversifying their portfolio as it pertains to DraftKings. Like, oh, I need to play this much of this guy and this much of this guy. Sometimes it can work as a big loser in one way. Although since I've started playing and joined Underdog, code Mayo, and Underdog Fantasy, by the way, between Underdog, betting, and DraftKings, I've been basically winning 2 of the 3 every single week. And like when you win big, like Underdog is usually like kind of tread water type thing. Or I've had a couple really good weeks on Underdog, mainly thanks to Kenny giving away like, yeah, here's a 50 to 1. It's like, sure. Like the betting was a struggle for a while because the long shots kept winning, but now that's turned itself around.
Yep.
You hit a huge make the cut parlay that pays for everything. Like that pays for more than the entire season of golf for me.
Yeah, you're good for a long time.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's the key. Diversifying it up, and then like this show, I think that's why people love it. Is the basis always get good feedback on it? Is we're not talking about just picks and plays. We're talking about how are we using them and what does that look like? Roster construction, going in depth on the actual tournaments that we're playing in, where you're trying to level up and win $1 million. Like I said, I have the $1 million winner, Chris Earn, will be on the show later today with Hoop and I. So it's going to be awesome just get his take on how he broke it all down and how he does his process and gets into it.
And he's a founding member at Shipping Nation. First day member?
First day member, joined, got the annual pass. I met him at the 3M last year, really good dude. So he's going to be on the show. He'll get some of his breakdown on how he got to the lineup. But
he's probably like, I listen to Pat Mayo.
We'll see what he says. We'll find out.
He's probably not going to say that.
But I do think it matters. We talked about it last time, but it's the same thing. Is when people listen to the show, we do go through a lot of stuff. getting involved in a community where it's not just picks and plays and people are actually talking through it, to your point, it helps bring these data points together with Fantasy National. There's some underdog slips in there. People are doing that. We're talking about actually beating the tournaments that we're in, not focusing on boots on the ground and things like that. Like we're focused on how do we win the tournaments to actually go up and get the job done. And that's the main thing.
One new tool at Fantasy National as well that I totally forgot. At the very top, there's an over-under type thing. And it's basically any pick'em slip that you want to play. There's strokes, birdies are better, bogeys are worse, fairways hit, and greens regulation. Moose built a simulator for each of the days. It gets updated. You type in your player, you type in the line, and it'll give you the percentage of that being a winner. So if you do want to do your underdog slips, that's what I'm going to be doing this week to really test it out. I was at the Masters, but I was out of a legal place to play, so I couldn't play. So now that I'm back, I'm going to really hammer down on that. So just another new tool.
Yeah.
At Fantasy National.
That's kind of like Run the Sims has, same for
Exactly.
during NFL season.
Yep.
It's like you can do it that way and you get your, mainly was for prize picks, I think, when it first started, but you could get a real good setup there for how it loads up against it, but underdog is the key.
Well, I mean, that's what I've been using Run the Sims for UFL and printing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the key was not getting too greedy for UFL.
Yeah, the first week I saw your underdog slip was like five guys.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate, he's all in. It's like, but you got to test it. What if?
Yeah, what if?
Right
I mean,
now,
I'm
I
not
think
saying don't play the 5. I'm just saying don't make your entire week the one slip for 5 guys. Make the slip. The second week, I ended up doing like 2 or 3 5-pick ones. They all lost, but I won, I think, 18 of the 22 two-mans that I did. That works out much better.
It's a way to do it. Then you can pair it all together. Get Run the Sims, get underdog, use the code Mayo for them, pair them up, and then, like I said, maybe just don't get as greedy or, Kenny style of like, oh, it's free money, let me just go all in. It's like, yeah, it's worked so far. He's in good shape too, but just to say, like, that's the key. Sometimes just tone it back a little bit and do some sort of round robin-ish stuff with them that way, because you can do that.
Feeling any FOMO on Fantasy Golf Degenerates?
No, I love it. Good for Byron. It's awesome. Obviously a good dude. I'll jump back in on some of the major shows. I think we're actually going to do a 3-man booths just to keep the mix. Right?
That's awesome.
And I love the favorite South African versus the everyone's favorite Canadian. Just switch it up that easily. Obviously a good show this week, and Kenny tried to figure out how to pronounce his name, but it's definitely a good thing. I think it's always good. Sort of how I got to go on that show, be on it for 5+ years. Great run. Focus now on Ship It Nation, some personal stuff, and then obviously being on this show here with you, we still get to cover a lot of the angles and talk about golf and do what we love to do. So it's good for everybody.
All right. You got a final show coming out on Wednesday at Ship It Nation?
We do. Yeah. Hoop and I'll be recording. It'll be a little bit of an interview, a minterview. I'm trademarking that if anyone hasn't already. A mini interview at the start where we'll go through with our guy Chris Hearn, who won the Mega Milli last week for $1 million. We had a huge week last week. Use the code Mayo. Get 10% off. If you want to join the community and check it out and get in on some of these discussions of beating these tournaments, leverage, correlation, roster construction, all the things that actually help you win at DFS versus the picks and plays. And last week was round 1. Main tournament, someone won it. Round 2, Mondo, whatever his name was, I don't know how he pronounced it, but he won $125K off $200 in Showdown round 2. Showdown round 3, our guy Matt won $100K for the main GPP. And then round 4, Chris drops his little screenshot and says, did a thing. Yeah, $1 million. And that's what he turned it into. So lots of good stuff going on. Nothing can guarantee you guys winners, but being in a community where they're talking about how to win and surrounding yourself with similar like-minded individuals, definitely the way to go. Ship It Nation, code Mayo. Get
Code
10%
Mayo.
off.
Over there. Code Mayo at Underdog Fantasy. We'll get you that deposit match of up to $100. FantasyNational.com/Mayo. 20% off all of the tools. You get that leaderboard, that pick'em tool that I just mentioned, plus all of the DraftKings tools, including lineup builder, ownership projections, and the entire stat database to go along with Moose's simulator for the single round and the full tournament as well. Corrales is up there too if you want to check it out. Smash the like while you are here. Sub to Mayo Media Network, and we'll see you next time.
That Mayo experience! Experience!